girly friends, it's Anna. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're well. In today's video, I'm so excited to actually go through the process of how I'm editing draft 2. If you didn't know, I'm finally revising draft 1 of Project Ghost and moving on to draft 2. Hence, I'm doing all the editing and proofreading and also focusing on the writing in particular. A few of you guys had actually wanted to see this video, so I'm so glad I'm finally filming it. Because of course on my channel, I talk a lot about starting draft 1s and it's more so catered towards beginner writers or people just starting their book. However, I'm yet to kind of do a video which is about how to kind of go the next step and of course write draft 2. So let's go ahead and get on to the video. Okay, so the first thing you need to do when you're editing your draft is to actually read over your book. This might seem obvious, but I have a better way to do it. Because of course it's important to read over your draft, but I think that's just too tedious. It takes a lot of time, and to make it more efficient, I want to introduce you guys to DubDub. So thank you so much DubDub for actually sponsoring this video and allowing me to share it with you guys. DubDub is a text-to-speech studio which allows AI generated speech to actually read your book for you, and I'm so excited to show you guys what it does because it literally has blown my mind. It's helped me so much with my drafting process. So here's DubDub. I also love their name. It's so cute, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what I mean. So if I go down here to Project Ghost, and this is the ghost story that I have been editing because I just want to show you how cool this is. Ready? Okay, let's do it.
If you're laughing, you better jump too.
Ned is suddenly there again next to her.
Unless we're too insane.
He uses air quotes before grinning as he drops suddenly off the edge. Red steps forward to watch him disappear below the water and resurface, his hair black from the water.
Come on, little hood.
She can just make out his words, licked with challenge. She can't take that little annoying grin. She's never met a boy so ridiculously bold and, well, and cocky. Red knows for a fact that her first and foremost decree is, no one is as cocky as her. And that doesn't excuse ghosts.
Did you hear that? Yo, this is amazing. What's so amazing about this is that it literally feels like someone's reading my book, and it makes it feel so much more professional, and I can actually hear it in a way that allows me to really focus on the scene, what the characters are saying, and the characterization of the sentences. So all you need to do is literally cut and paste, and you can go up to 30k, which is kind of really interesting because this story is actually 30k words long, so it's like perfect. Something really cool, if I go over here to this corner and you can kind of maximize it, you can change the different voices. So you can actually change the different speakers. For example, we can go down to Albie over here and press play.
She can't take that little annoying grin. She's never met a boy so ridiculously bold and, well, and cocky.
Isn't that so cool? This actually brings a lot of character to your story, if that makes sense. And something that DubDub really does well is that they have all of these different emotions that your AI dictation can actually undertake. So it can be cheerful or excited. But what's even better is that you can of course add cool things like this. On this top menu, we have so many different things that you can add. You can even add background music. As you guys saw, I used a splashing sound effect, which like brings, it helps me visualize the scene so much more. So if you guys want to check out DubDub, I definitely recommend them for editing your book and for just getting someone to actually read your book to you. I think it's just amazing and it makes you feel so professional. There's a free 3-day trial, so if you guys want to just check it out, definitely do. And it just allows your scene to really come together. I'll have them all linked down below if you guys want to check them out. I really encourage you to do so because it's just awesome and I really recommend it for drafting your project. So yeah, definitely check out DubDub below. But anyways, yes, that's kind of how I'm rereading my project, going into different scenes and just reading over them, which allows me to deep dive into the project because usually after you finish your first draft, you at least have a little bit of a break. So when you come back, you're able to get stuck into your project once again. Okay, so the next step I want you guys to definitely try is to actually understand the tone of your story. I feel like draft 1, it's a little bit more messier and you're focusing on the action of the story, not so much on the tone of the writing. So I really hope that you guys just have a little self-reflection, maybe read over some work and really find places where your tone can be improved. I think especially chapter 1, when you are revising that chapter, it's such an important thing to get that chapter perfect in a way that presents your reader with the tone of the story. And what do I mean by tone? What's the vibe? What's the vibe? Basically, what is the vibe? So for example, for my Project Ghost, I really had a big sort of reflection over what sort of tone I wanted my writing to actually undertake. And of course, I really wanted this sort of lonely, detached sort of vibe. I know it's kind of complicated and it is definitely something that you only can know within your story. But basically in this second step, I really want you to just be conscious that when you are reading your project in step 1, you're being conscious of the way you're explaining things. A quick example I want to give is, for example, whenever I did English assignments in high school, I would always make sure before I started to write that I had a sort of metaphor that I can kind of use throughout my writing to kind of bring the punch of that metaphor at the end of the book or end of the article or end of the essay. I think this actually allowed me to get pretty good grades and just kind of brings a sort of emotion to your writing, even if you just explain something that's so simple like an action, like Red goes and runs away down the road, but you can improve that in a way that kind of encaptures the character and the atmosphere and the settings of your book, which allows you to emphasize running themes within your book. Because I really do recommend that if you take anything from this video, make sure that your story has a running theme. It can be a feeling, it can be like a reoccurring sentence, it can be a way that your characters describe something, it can be a metaphor, it can be anything. Just make sure that there's that sort of just like little quirk in your book that kind of glues things together and makes your story flow better. So yes, be conscious of your writing and your tone when you are reading your book. Okay, so the next thing I want you guys to do when you are reading your project and you first come along dialogue, I encourage you guys to act it out. Like even if you think that dialogue seems realistic, it seems fine, act it out, act it out. Something that annoys me as a reader is terrible dialogue, and I kind of pride myself at least a little bit on having realistic and good dialogue that not only sounds not cringy but really hits the nail on the head in terms with what character is saying what and how that characterizes them as a person. So this is a priority for me when I am writing my second draft and when I am editing. Just make sure your dialogue is realistic, okay? Ask the questions like, is this reasonable for a character to say this in this situation? Or maybe is it realistic for this particular character to say this? And also realize that you can tell a lot and cut down a lot of word count, by the way, as a tip, because when you think about it, Shakespeare, all of his plays are in dialogue, but the story is there. The story is so immersive. So that's why I believe in the power of dialogue, and I do hope to do a video maybe soon about dialogue because I just love writing dialogue so much and I think it's so powerful. Because for Project Ghost, if you know my characters Red and Ned, they're kind of like bantery, and I have like a full, I swear it's like 2 pages as I went through my first draft and I was like editing. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. The way they're just like fighting for like 2 whole pages and it's just like their dialogue after one another. It's so cool. So make sure you get your dialogue right because it can make or break your story. The next thing to keep in mind is to make comments within your story. I feel like when you are going through that first sort of round of revisions is to decide if you're going to change it straight away or if you're going to just comment it on the side in the margin. I would actually recommend, at least that's what I do, I change it straight away, even though it does take a lot more time and though I should be just observing my first draft. I feel like it saves time in the long run, even if it takes time right now. It also does depend if you're changing a big scene, or maybe you realize that you haven't foreshadowed something, or maybe you have to go through and do different things and it will take too long to kind of jump around your document and you want to stay in this chapter. In that situation, I would recommend putting a little comment on the side. However, if it's something small, and it doesn't just have to be small as in your grammar or your sentence structure, it can literally just be changing the way you describe something, or maybe you have a better metaphor for a particular sentence. I don't know, like it can be something small like that. That's when I recommend you just to kind of like do it, just do it. Because if you're editing your document, your editing doesn't always have to go in the comments, especially if it's just a quick fix. The last thing I want to say about actually editing your physical revision copy is to actually understand what you are looking for. What are you looking for? I think it's important to focus on particular things when you're reading your book, and it's hard to focus on so many things like characters, for example, like plot, or like just the writing. And it might make sense to of course focus on the plot and like making developmental sort of note to the plot when you are reading your first draft. But I honestly don't like that because I can't read or develop anything with the writing being bad or with there being mistakes or grammar problems. Of course, it's not going to be perfect, but I think it's important to actually just practice editing your work. Firstly, not focusing on the plot, just focusing on the writing, the tone, and stuff like that, so that you can also be on the lookout for plot stuff. So you're focusing on the little details of the actual writing without having that sort of pressure that like, oh my gosh, this is wrong, oh my gosh, blah blah blah. Because in most cases, at least for me, my first draft is quite good because I've written a 0 draft, and by the way, a new video is going to come out about me actually drafting my first draft, so this is interesting that this is like the second, but that'll come out soon. However, with the 4th step, focus on the 4th step. Basically, my first drafts are really good, so I don't really have to do a lot of plot developing edits. And the reason I only do sort of rough writing edits is because of the 5th step. Okay, so the 5th step is like once you kind of done the main edits, you kind of made some notes on the plot or maybe like foreshadowing stuff, more of the bigger stuff, and you kind of at least are conscious of that, is to send it to someone or at least some of your friends to read it. And something about this that I really recommend you guys to do is to only send them 3 chapters or 1 chapter. Like, send them very little of your book. And I know this is kind of hard because you're like, what, Anna, I need like developmental sort of edit ideas. That's what I thought. I sent my book Project Ghost after I did my revisions, and only 2 people have gotten back to me and they said it was fine, and no one else has even touched it because they're not readers and they're not really interested in my book because they're so busy. So I encourage you guys to first only send your project, especially at this early stage for draft 2, only a few chapters of your book, because that will hopefully encourage your friends or your writer friends to read your book, because it allows you to have feedback on the tone of the story, and you can also ask them questions like, would you keep reading? And that will maybe tell if they actually want to read your book, or if they're just not into the genre, or if it's just bad. Kind of like hard love. But I definitely recommend to send it to something, because that will hopefully give you the sort of encouragement, the motivation boost, but also gets it out of your hands, especially at such an early stage, instead of kind of hoarding it to yourself and like trying to make it perfect, when in reality, even if it's on the shelf and you have it published, it will never be perfect, at least in your eyes, because us writers are kind of perfectionists. So don't worry about that. So yes, definitely send it to someone once you finish your revisions, or even the first draft, at least the first 3 chapters, because that will actually motivate them to finish them. I'm looking at all the people who have yet to read my book. What are you doing? I'm kidding. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped you. Definitely check out Dub Dub again down below. I also love their cute little name. It's so cute. It's really helping me, and I would love to show you guys some more stuff of the interface, actually reading some more of my projects, because I put so many scenes in there and I just like love fiddling around using the different sorts of tools to kind of make it feel like an audiobook, which is kind of cool. But anyways, I hope this helped you guys. Thank you again for being so patient with this video. I know I was supposed to kind of talk about it since I have been kind of editing Project Ghost for a long time. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you're new. Again, it will help so much. And I hope to see you in my next video. Stay writing, everybody. Bye bye.